As soon as you set your eyes on the new Continental GT Speed, you wonder how Bentley's been able to transform a luxury coupe into a performance car. But beneath this vast and very striking exterior sits some seriously clever technology that aims to seamlessly switch between luxury cruiser and driving machine. Now today I'm going to find out whether the Continental GT Speed is as good to drive as Bentley says it is. But before I go any further, why not give us a thumbs up if you like what you see and subscribe for more awesome videos just like this one. 2.3 tons, well, nearly. Naturally, that doesn't scream performance car and even makes electric SUVs seem positively lightweight. But Bentley has done a whole lot of work to sharpen up the Speed without compromising on that luxury feel. Firstly, there's an electronically limited slip differential, a first for the Continental GT, and it allows you to send up to 95% of power to the rear axle, meaning drifts for days at your local Waitrose car park. There's now also rear wheel steering, which does a great job of virtually shrinking the car's wheelbase and making it a little bit more agile in the bends. Carbon ceramic brakes are also available, and Bentley has updated the 3-chamber air suspension to make the car a little bit more focused when it's in sport mode, but not compromise that cushy feel when you're in comfort. Couple that with the 48-volt anti-roll bar system along with torque vectoring, and you've got a car that works its backside off to make you think it's lighter than it actually is. Underneath this massive bonnet is Bentley's oh-so-wafty 6-litre twin-turbocharged W12 engine, producing 659 horsepower, 24 more than the Continental GT W12, and 900 Newton meters of torque. That is absolutely supercar territory, as is the 0 to 62 time of 3.5 seconds, and it'll go all the way up to a top speed of 208 miles an hour. That's helped by the GT Speed being all-wheel drive, and it's coupled up with an 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox, which has been recalibrated for the Speed to make the shifts a little bit sharper when you're in sport mode. Whoever spec'd this car is very brave, but it does a very good job of showing just how diverse the color palette is for the Continental GT Speed. Now, the shade that you see here is azure purple, and it's one of many, many different colors that you can choose in the reds and purples color category. In fact, there are about 10 different shades per color category, so you can really get the color that you're after, unless you're after something really bold like highlighter yellow. That isn't really available in the current selection. You'd need to spend a lot of money with Bentley to get a custom order. On this particular car, we have black highlights for the grille, around the lights, and also at the base of the body. But if you want that more traditional Bentley look, you can go for chrome if you want to. All cars come with 22-inch wheels, and they're about the same design. Now, we've got the gloss black ones here, but you can also go for a more chrome finish or the standard silver if you fancy it. There are also a few little speed badges dotted around the car, plus carbon fiber lips at the front of the car, down the skirts, and also at the very back. And finishing it all off is this carbon fiber lip on the boot lid, and that works in conjunction with an active rear spoiler. This may be the performance version, but it's still a Bentley at heart. Sure, there are a few elements here that give it away as being the sportier car, such as carbon fiber on the dashboard and down the sides of the doors here, but that's just how it's been spec'd. If you want that more luxurious feel, then there's a wide array of walnut veneers to choose from. There are also Speed logos on the dashboard, down on the door sills, and you can also have it embroidered in the headrests. This car comes with a part leather, part Alcantara interior, with Alcantara on the seats, down here on the center console, the roof lining, and also on the outside of the steering wheel, whereas you've got leather on the outside of the seats, on the inside of the doors here, and on the inside of the steering wheel too. There are also different ways in which you can choose the stitching in this car, going from contrasting stitching to matching stitching to even cross stitching, which is done by hand by Mulliner. You get all the typical Bentley touches too, such as these push and pull levers for the climate vents, as well as a very tasteful analog clock. But my favorite option, which admittedly you can get in the regular Continental GT as well, is the central infotainment display. Now, yes, it's very evidently been taken out of an Audi, and the same goes up for the head-up display. However, you can choose between either seeing the infotainment screen, or you can flip it over to a trio of analog dials. We've got an analog dial for the temperature. You also get one for the stop clock if you're wanting to time yourself around a track. And there's even an analog compass in the center, your old-fashioned sat-nav system. And when you turn the car off, it all hides away behind a panel that matches up with the rest of the dashboard design. Now, evidently, this is a very expensive car, and prices start at £200,000. But that's before any options or customization elements are added in, so you can spend a lot of money on your Continental GT Speed. Now, you can become a Continental GT owner for not a lot of money by going down the used route, but it is worth noting that they can be quite expensive to run and maintain. Either way though, whether you want to go new or used, we've got plenty to choose from over at YesAuto. Before I get on to what this is like to drive, what do you think of the color combination with the interior? It's definitely a bold choice, but I'm not sure that that kind of pinky purple on the outside and purple leather interior on the inside quite works. It kind of looks like the car equivalent of the aubergine emoji or eggplant emoji. But anyway, this isn't about what this is like to look at. Well, sort of. It's about how it drives. And so we're going to start things off, as you probably expect, in sport mode, because really in every other mode, the Continental GT Speed shouldn't feel that different. It's only when you're on it that it should feel like a more agile, more drivable car. And what's remarkable is when you go between different driving modes in most cars, there's a subtle difference, but nothing major. But in the Continental GT Speed, this thing just feels completely different. First thing you'll notice is the exhaust becomes a little bit deeper. You get a few little crackles and burbles on the overrun, and it just sounds like something that's more alive. The suspension also feels a fair bit stiffer too, but it still feels really flat on the road. It doesn't feel necessarily uncomfortable, although you wouldn't want to do a long cruise in it. But again, it just kind of gives you an element of feedback that you would never get in the regular Continental GT. Now, it's not going to be like driving Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT. You can watch my review of that, by the way, by clicking the link in the top right-hand corner. And it certainly won't be like a BMW M5 either. But it's just something that feels like it's ready to be grabbed by the scruff of the neck and driven. The gear changes are really snappy as well. A lot of GT cars, even when you get the performance variant of them, they're never really fun to use in manual mode because they're just set up to cruise. And while that should still be very much the case with Continental GT Speed, I actually want to put it into manual mode because it's quite rewarding to go through the gears and actually drive. The steering also feels just fantastic. Now, with all of those upgrades that Bentley has done, it's meant that you have something with actually a faster steering rack. So it just makes the car feel very responsive, especially when it's coupled with the rear wheel steering. And this really shouldn't be said about a car weighing 2.3 tons, but it's actually quite playful. It's kind of encouraging you to overstep the mark and have some fun. And it's also properly fast as well. I mean, whoa! It's very, very, very quick. But this is a Bentley at the end of the day. It's a cruiser. So you are kind of pushed to the back of your seat a little bit, but a lot of performance cars with 650 odd horsepower and 900 newton meters of torque would throw you to the back of your chair, just like a Porsche 911 Turbo S. It does something very similar and feels very hardcore. Whereas this thing, it just gets a move on. It's so effortless in how it just launches you towards the horizon. The only thing I would say I found a little bit off with the Continental is that the brakes do seem to be a little bit on the grabby side. Now, it doesn't really matter if you're in sport or if you're in comfort or Bentley mode. No matter how many times I press the brakes, it just feels like I've not really been able to get my head around it. Now, if you live with your Bentley a little bit longer than I've been able to, you're probably going to get used to it and you'll be fine. But as someone who's just jumped into the cockpit and really only got acquainted with it over the space of a few days, it just doesn't, it's really not come that naturally to me just yet. So Bentley really has hit the nail on the head with the GT Speed. This really is a very fun car to drive, and because it's got that split personality, it means that it's actually easy to live with. I could use this every day, and then when I'm on my favorite road, I can whack it into sport mode, and I've got something that's going to give me a genuinely sporty and performance-focused driving experience. The Speed is all about being the master of different types of driving experiences. If you want that Bentley experience, the Continental GT Speed delivers just as well as a regular Continental GT. But if you want something that's going to be really fun to drive, it's now got that box tick too.